Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Hafizuddin bin Safian, metric number 1191942. Today I would like to present my article review. The topic is effectiveness of the existing halal laws in Malaysia. The first slide was introduction. The last 2 decades have seen the emergence of halal industry as one of the fastest growing sectors. Malaysia entered the global halal food market by opening international restaurants in the 1970s. From the beginning, Muslim consumers have expressed their eagerness about imported halal food products. They demand that all imported food should be halal. That driving force encouraged the Malaysian authority to promulgate laws as well as specific rules and regulation on this matter. It paved the way for Malaysia to provide halal foods national and international jurisdiction which are highly recognized in the global market. In Malaysia, halal food and products have been industrialized in accordance with the tenets of Islamic laws. To the end, despite the complexity and challenge, Malaysia can be a pioneer and role model for world's halal industries through the effective implementation of halal laws. Before the amendment of Trade Description Act 2011, the Trade Description Act (TDA) took effect on 3rd November 1972. The objective of TDA 1972 are to prohibit misdescription of food and goods, indicate the price of goods during the course of trade and business, and forbid the creation of deceitful and misrepresentative statements of any service or goods. Due to the strong demands of consumers, the Malaysian government enacted two regulations under this act, i.e. the Trade Description Use of Expression Halal Order 1975 and the Trade Description Making of Food Order 1975. The ministry which governed the TDA 1972 was the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs (MDTCA), which is now known as Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperative and Consumerism (MDTCC). Nevertheless, with the 1972 Act, there were some problems which did not effectively regulate the halal issue. The main problem is the absence of a comprehensive definition of halal. At that time, the halal definition was restricted in terms of food only. Other problems were absence of specific provision of exercise of jurisdiction who was designed to handle halal matters and which authority had to issue the halal certificate. Post-amendment of Trade Description Act 2011. After 39 years of this act, in 2011, the Malaysian legislature amended the TDA and it was enforced on 1st November on the same year. Along with the bylaws, namely Trade Description Use of Expression Halal Order 1975 and the Trade Description Halal Labelling Order 1975, were also restructured and added with more orders such as the Trade Description Definition of Halal Order 2011 and Trade Description Certification and Marking of Halal Order 2011 and Trade Description Certification and Marking of Halal Fees Regulation 2011. The objective of this TDA 2011 are to insert some provision and reform the loopholes in the laws regarding trade and halal. There are numerous sections that have been added, for instance Section 9, 1 and 2, 16, 20, 23, 32, and in the case of halal regulation, the most important introduction are Section 28, 29, Trade Description Act 2011. The new Amendment Act 2011, like its predecessor, promotes good trade practice and prohibits false trade statement and conduct in relation to goods and service. The most noteworthy feature of this amendment is the introduction of the Trade Description Definition of Halal Order 2011. The the Trade Description, Certification and Marking of Halal Order 2011 and Trade Description, Halal Certification and Marking Fees Order 2011 that provide specific legal provision on matters related to halal. These three bylaws were enforced on 1st January 2012. Though TDA 2011 does not directly mention any provision regarding halal, Section 28 and 29 of this Act have confers power to the Minister to make orders and regulation for effective halal enforcement. For instance, Trade Description Definition of Halal Order 2011 provides definition of halal service in relation to food and goods along with punishment for offence for deceitful and misleading use of halal. Apart from the Trade Description, Certification and Marking of Halal, Order 2011 defines halal certification and delivers power to JAKIM and State Islamic Religious Council as competent authorities for issuing uniform halal logo for Malaysian food and goods. The above mentioned order considers JAKIM and State Islamic Religious Council as component authority, but general practice shows neither JAKIM nor State Islamic Religious Council is party infringement case of those acts and orders. In all cases, MDTCC is the main party. Furthermore, application of this law and orders is only limited to the traders, manufacturers or producers whose food or goods contain halal mark. Nevertheless, law and orders do not impose an obligation that all foods and goods use the halal mark. As a result, until today, Muslim consumers' right to get halal food is not strictly guaranteed. Movement of JAKIM. One of the main federal government religious agencies in Malaysia is JAKIM. The development of Islamic affairs recorded in Malaysia is based on the Federal Constitution. According to Article 3 of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia 2009, Islam is the religion of the Federation. In light of that, both of the federal and state government have been empowered to recognize the Islamic law. Since JAKIM's establishment in 1968, it has played an important role in the development of Islamic affairs together with the development of Muslim communities. In 1974, it started to involve itself in the confirmation of halal regarding consumer supplies and products. During that time, the Islamic Research Centre along with the Office of the Prime Minister started issuing halal certification for products that comply with the rules. There are three functions of JAKIM: lawmaking and standardization of Islamic law, modification and expansion of Islamic education, and lastly, Islamic harmonization and administration. Conclusion: the above discussion bears witness that to provide halal certification and issues relate to halal, Malaysia has to expand its legal provision. The laws are sufficient and have been developed from time to time and are applicable throughout the country. The Trade Description Act 1972 along with its Order Trade Description, Use of Expression Halal Order 1975 and the Trade Description Making of Food Order 1975 are the main legislation to govern halal issues. The amendment of TDA and TDO 2011 have brought main changes to the halal certification laws in this country. Therefore, it is suggested that the halal governing authorities have to be more active in terms of implementing their power for the effective execution of halal laws. Without exercising their enforcement power, they cannot solve halal problems. However, in the case of enforcement of halal laws, there will always be a need for some coordination of the authorities in terms of effective enforcement of halal issues to meet developing and often unexpected problems. That's all from me. Thank you.